After clearing out most of the roster, Bill O'Brien has already brought in a number of names that are going to make Boston College fans excited.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. I've been covering Boston College for over a decade. If you're looking for Boston College news, analysis, and details on your Eagles, you are in the right place. Locked On Boston College is a free Boston College podcast available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. On today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. All right. The portal is now open, and we have a packed show. I got to talk about two big names that are still probably going to leave. I'll explain who those are. We're going to look at some other names that BC is connected with, and then let's talk about the excitement, the top names BC has already been connected to that is not Deuce Knight yet, that they're going to have to fill. So we know right now that Boston College has, I think, 26, 27 players in the portal. There's probably a few more that are going to be coming down the pike. So BC has basically, if you were to open up your spreadsheet and look at the depth chart, you just put red lines over everything. Basically, at this point, they need to get every position. This is a Deion Sanders-esque clearing of your roster to get new names in here. And for some, that's exciting. For me as a content provider, it's really exciting. For you, it's a little terrifying, and I get that. On Friday, the transfer portal finally opened. This is the first chance for Boston College fans to hear who BC is looking at with Kenyatta Watson and Bill O'Brien to come in to fix all these guys that you've heard about for the last month that are leaving. Remember, before today, it was all tampering if you heard about it. Now it's legal. Once the guy's name is in the portal, BC can be linked to them. BC can actually probably even talk to you about them. So we heard about a number of names that I think should be exciting. So, Deuce Knight is obviously a big name that we're going to be talking about, for weeks. But he's not going to be the point of this episode. The first name I really want to bring up that came up today was Christian Phillips. Christian Phillips is an offensive guard from Georgia. Kenyatta Watson link, that started for Michigan State for multiple years, got hurt this year, but had a pretty solid grade. If you look at his Pro Football Focus grade, it's around the same as what Eric Doherty did. He led up 0 sacks. He's a big guy. He's got, he has experience. Obviously, he's played in the Big Ten, and he's going to official visit to be. So you gotta, if this, and I have not heard his name linked anywhere else. So I'm gonna guess right now. I'm gonna put my money on this one. He's probably looking for a starting gig. BC has 4 spots available on their offensive line, two offensive guard spots. I'm gonna guess he's probably gonna be coming here. I think this is a good one. And that's a big get. You're getting a Big Ten starting offensive lineman. Now, he didn't start every game because he got hurt at the end of last year, but he has played a lot. And his grades are pretty good. He's got like an 84 grade as a pass blocker. Isn't that what you want? Isn't that what Eric Doherty had? So right away, just looking at this first name, you already see that there's a player that can link in and do what you lost. Boom. If that guy commits, you're already in good shape. Now, okay, there's a million other spots that you get to fill. I get that. I'm saying you got to take baby steps. We're not going to get a transfer portal class of 60 or 30 all in one day. But if you land him and you land this guy and this guy and this guy, then we're starting to talk business here. So Christian Phillips, again, a connection to Kenyatta Watson, which is something we're going to be talking about a lot on these shows. This is a guy that we're going to be watching for, and I would put him on commit alert. I think this is a guy that probably will end up at BC. Next, you lost Turbo Richard, and this was a player. I love Turbo. Turbo was someone I talked about a lot on the show. He had one of my favorite names for all Boston College players of all time. But he entered the portal, and I get it. Some school's going to pay him a lot. But is Turbo replaceable? And I say he is. I mentioned on yesterday's show that there's a number of running backs that can do what Turbo does. And you can get them at an affordable price. Remember, I'm sure BC could pay to keep Turbo here. I bet they could. But when you have to do a huge remake, when you have tons of players and spots that are missing, you need to be able to allocate money where it's useful. So if you can get some good running backs, you do that. Now, the first name is another, wait for it, Kenyatta Watson linked recruit. Evan Dickens, excuse me. You want to call him Daniels. I don't know why. Evan Dickens, a running back from Liberty who went to Georgia Tech for a while, is going to be taking an official visit to UNC. I think he's there right now, I believe. And he's going to BC this weekend. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, he played for Liberty, and he ran for almost 1,400 yards, 5th in the nation. 5th. Against a smaller, a lesser opponent. But I've preached on this show over and over and over again. When you can produce at any level, as long as you're coached up and you're surrounded by talent. So a 1,400-yard rusher who had 16 touchdowns, he's going to be taking an official visit to BC. 16 touchdowns. This is exciting. This is the kind of lower-level player that BC should always be connected to. Because look at those numbers. You look at this and you say to yourself, this is exactly what BC needs. This is the kind of excitement that you could put on your offense. And this is the replacement that you get for Turbo, right? Turbo had 750 yards. And I'm not saying this guy's going to be better than Turbo, but I am saying I am excited to see what he can do. And so it's going to be either UNC or BC. And again, everything I heard, and I have heard from a lot of recruits, this connection to Kenyatta Watson's a strong thing. BC gets him last, unless Bill Belichick, who I don't know if he can connect that way, can do something that BC can't and not even get him on campus. I like where BC's standing on this. I think this is another good one. And so he's a 6, I think he's 5'10", 5'11", good size running back, a little bit bigger than Turbo. But again, this is another recruit that you're thinking, okay, excitement. So those are some names that just popped up right away. These are names that I was like, whoa, like solid, right? Then you look at some of the lower levels. When I talk about recruits that BC has landed in the past, there's a little bit of hesitation when you talk about getting FCS guys. I get it, right? Especially the Ivy Leagues. BC has really struggled with Ivy League players. John Pupil really, he played, but was he really strong? No. Alex Washington flamed out after like 4 games. He was a cornerback from Harvard. Pupil was from Dartmouth. Tommy Matheson this past year, center from Princeton, didn't really do much of anything. Now, this next guy that I'm going to talk about is a completely different story because he comes in with a list of what he can do that just really opened my eyes. And this is safety Ty Bartram. He's going to be taking an official visit to BC and UCF. Bartram had 83 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception, and 3 pass breakups this season as a safety for Harvard. But this is what caught my eye. This is where I was hoping BC would go when they're going for FCS players. He was a Buck Buchanan finalist for FCS Defender of the Year. That's the best defensive player of the year for an FCS school. This isn't a guy that you're hoping will develop. This isn't a guy that you're just hoping will become something. This is basically an FCS All-American right here. This is a guy that can do it at a level. And as I just said with the last guy, if he could do it here, there's a good chance he can do it at the other level, and I would take that chance in the heartbeat. Alex Washington was solid. John Pupil was okay. But these other guys, they don't have that history that this guy has. So this sounds good to me. Like, that's the big thing that I've been looking for when I'm talking about bringing up these lower level guys. Last year, you brought in Anya Nuisi, and you're like, okay, maybe he can develop. Chuck Nato, maybe he can develop. These guys are already developed. They're already getting these huge numbers at the FCS level. That's what you need. That's what you need at Boston College. So these are just a couple of the first names that I wanted to bring up on today's show. And there's more. Man, we have a packed episode today. I got some more names I want to talk about in just a moment. Let's talk about something most men don't bring up, but absolutely should. Stress from work, money, life. It doesn't switch off at night, and when it shows up at the worst possible time, Rouge Get Ready is designed to help you take back control. Rouge Get Ready is a next-generation prescription treatment created to support both the brain and the body so you can feel present, confident, and ready when the moment matters. Rouge Get Ready combines 3 clinical proven ingredients in 1 mint that dissolves under your tongue so it absorbs fast. It's easy to understand why over 150,000 men have already made the switch, because you can connect with a board-certified doctor online and everything ships discreetly to your door. If you've been thinking about taking the next step, now's the time. Head to rougiet.com/lockedoncollege. That's RUGIET.com. Again, RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege to get 15% off your order for a limited time. Rouge Get Ready. Feel present, feel confident, feel ready. Thank you for making Locked On Boston College first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast of the day. I want to tell you about our Everydayer Club. This is just something that's brand new that started this month. If you've not already signed up, you need to now. You get an ad-free audio feed of Locked On Boston College, compatible with all major podcast apps. You get an invitation to our Discord, which I'm on, and you get, if you do this, you get all sorts of other little goodies. If you become an all-access member, and I saw a few of you have already started to do this, and I hope more do, you get access to exclusive content. I do exclusive shows. I do exclusive bonus stuff. You can also directly text to me. It's like sometimes you guys post stuff in the YouTube comments, and I don't get to it because, hey, my time ain't cheap, but I will for my everydayers, because if you join up, you join that text service. Some of you guys out there, maybe in the comment section right now, already have it. Tell them how good it is, how you can talk to AJ about anything. So go to supercast.com/lockedonbostoncollege or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider. Thank you all who made Locked On Boston College part of your daily routine. So things have been good today. It's like it's not been a faucet in your face type of news day. It's a 2-week cycle. So things have come in, and I've been putting them up on Eagle Insider, but I wanted to make sure I came live to talk to you about what I've been hearing. And there's more names to talk about. And I want to talk again about FCS, because again, there's some transfers coming from the FCS level that don't excite me. And there's a few that came today that I was like, okay. But there's a few that, as I just said with Ty Bartram, there's a couple that they've been looking at that I'm like, okay, you've got my attention. The next one is Trey Page of Tarleton State. Now, why does he interest me? He's only a sophomore. As a freshman, he had 112 carries, 839 yards, 7 touchdowns, and averaged almost 8 yards per carry. He was a Jerry Rice Award finalist for one of the best FCS players, freshman All-American, FCS National Player of the Week, and 2-time Freshman Player of the Week. This, again, you want big names. You want guys that get you excited. I mean, this is not a guy that's coming in where you're like, oh, maybe he can develop. Look, those numbers. You want him here. Remember, a source of mine sent this to me, that Indiana has a bunch of FCS players on their team. It's all about getting the right ones. Trey is definitely a right one. Like, you need multiple running backs at this point, because as we mentioned, you lost Turbo, you lost Jordan McDonald. We'll talk about Alex Broome. He's gone too. You have like 3 guys on your roster. You need a bunch of running backs. How good would this be if you could pair him up? And then they just offered another running back out of North Texas, Alex or something Gray. I forget what his name is. Pull it up because it just happened. Ashton Gray, who also was rushing for quite a bit. Like, these are the kind of guys you want to get. Like, they have the numbers. They have the things that you want to get in terms of getting excited. So it's these types of players that really get your juices flowing. Now, there's other players that they've offered and have visits set up as well on Friday, that I think are worth mentioning. Is going to be Kate Romney. And some of you, I don't know if any of you want to look it up. I have been trying. I've been so swamped today. Is he related to Mitt? It looks like he might be because he started at BYU, and there's obviously a Mormon connection with Mitt. But he's a linebacker out of Arizona State, so I know a lot of you guys want Power 4 players. He's played. He started a couple years ago, got hurt this past year. I think he's 6'3", good size for a linebacker. Is he the only answer? You're going to have to get a bunch of linebackers here. And he would be one of them. He's taking an official visit here, and I think it's UCF. So that's one that they're looking at. There is a where was my other guy? NC Central players. That's who I was. Wisdom Sims, a 6'4", 350-pound defensive tackle. That's huge. That's a big guy. He played 433 snaps and had a 70.2 Pro Football Focus grade with three sacks and 15 stops. And then his teammate Trayvon Humphreys, a offensive tackle, is another one. He played 776 snaps at left tackle last year. I think this is something worth watching for because, obviously they're both guys that could play and they've already played. Are they ones that get my juices flowing? No, but honestly, look how many spots they have to fill. Not everyone they're going to get is Deuce Knight. They're going to have to fill spots with recruits and transfers that are just good players. So these are just the first couple names, and it's coming in short and slowly. And so I think for a first day, it's solid. Is it great? No, it's not like the big names that you're hoping for, but I think tomorrow, again, we'll start to learn even more because I think that's when they start really getting official visits because it's over the weekend. So you'll start to see some players on. Chris Hummer has been all over all this stuff. He's my cohort at 247, and I've really enjoyed seeing all the stuff coming out on that. And, I think you're looking at, again, as I said this at the beginning of the show, like a complete overhaul. And I have to be honest, I never, ever thought this would be what BC had to do. I thought BC would always be in that case where either they're keeping and retaining their talent so that they don't have to do that, or they're going to lose a guy or two, and that's who they have to replace. And then they'll replace a few role players or guys that never really fit on the roster. This is something completely different. Again, your offense is toast. You have Kalen Chazinski and Michael Krauns and Jaden Skeet, but he doesn't really count because he didn't play all that much this year. That's about it. On defense, I got to say this again, and this is not to be blunt, but you went 2-10 because of your defense, mostly because of your defense. I don't care how many of those guys leave. One that we'll talk about in a minute, I wish came back, but for the most part, if you're going to rebuild it, please do, because that defense was seriously flawed, and you need to, it's not like a one guy that's going to fix this. You need to fix a lot. So if that means that you have to blow the whole thing up, that makes a lot of sense to me. Now, in our final segment, there's a few other new items of players entering the portal. I'll get into who those were and what that means in just a moment. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the game tips off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action started. The timing is perfect. Right before the games, right before the weekend starts, you can get, through the app, you bring boosts, bonuses, and surprises. It's easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during the NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Locked On Boston College, AJ Black here. Thank you all who have made Locked On Boston College part of your daily routine, and all of you who are part of our Everyday Club. Thank you so much for choosing Locked On Boston College to be your first listen every day. Now, the portal officially opened. So if you were on Twitter, you heard about, or anywhere, you heard about all the names that you just knew were going to enter the portal. The ones I've reported on, the ones I've tweeted about, the ones I've recorded about. You knew those guys were going to enter, but they officially entered on Friday. That being said, there were still a few surprises. The first one was running back Alex Broome. This was someone I kind of mentioned the other day, was like, I don't know what's going on there. He's a graduate student. He isn't playing. Will they bring him back? The answer is no. He's going to be entering the transfer portal. He didn't make a big announcement of it. This guy, in terms of a player, we saw a little bit of him under Jeff Hafley. Didn't see any of him the first year under Bill O'Brien because he got hurt. This year, it looked like he would do something, but really didn't see him at all. Probably one of the smartest BC football players I've ever met. If you ever look at what he's done, he's really, really smart. So there's going to be a world outside of football for him because he's going to go a lot. And he was a big community service person. So that piece is great. Like, he's a BC guy through and through. I hope he finds a spot where he can play because he wasn't going to play here next year. That's one more spot that opens. But I got to shout out Kevin Stone of Eagle Action, who is reporting, and I can't confirm it yet because I have not seen it through the portal. At 247, we get the actual portal wire, so I get notifications when guys actually enter the portal. But I had not heard this yet. But it sounds like KP Price and Amari Jackson are both entering the portal. As I said earlier, this is basically the Will Smith Fresh Prince of Bel-Air moment where he's just standing in the center of the house where no one's there. And who would that person be? Michael Krauts, I guess, because no one's left. KP Price would be horrible to lose. I'm going to say that right off the bat because he is a cornerstone of your defense. He's a smart defender, a really good safety. He played linebacker this past year. We saw glimpses of what he could do in 2024. He basically was asked to do everything this past year, so it kind of bit him because he was just asked to do way too much. But he's going to be a good player. He may be an NFLer. I don't know where that ends up with him, but just a really good player. And this one more than maybe Reed Harris hurts the most to me because he's just such a good defensive player. And no matter, you could have built your portal class around him, but I go back to what I've heard about everything else. Who knows what his agent's telling him he could be offered. Maybe he's being told that he can make a whole lot someplace else. And if that's the case and you have so many holes to fill, you can't afford to keep him. That's the case. I don't know. Amari Jackson, this one stings as well because he was hurt all this year. He was hurt most of last year. But when he played, he is one of your best cornerbacks. We saw, I've shown film of it. If you're a part of the Everydayers Club, I think I sent you all 11 of it, of what he looked like against Syracuse. When he was good and on, he could do a lot for your defense. And again, with every player, what I've been reading and hearing about every team, it seems like the agents are going on and on and on about what they can make. Maybe he's being told that, and that's what it is. But this basically would be the complete blow up of this team. The team is completely blown up. Michael Krauts wasn't even a starter day one last year, and he's basically it. Same with Kellen Chudzinski. Everybody else is going to be brand new. Again, kind of terrifying, right? But kind of exciting too, because I go back to this. Yeah, you want some of these pieces to build around, but you also remember this team was 2-10 last year. They were close in a lot of games, but there was major issues with this roster. The fact that you couldn't do a whole lot with it once a few guys got hurt, you had to rebuild it. This is a chance to rebuild it and do it quickly. Other teams, look, you're watching the playoffs. I'm not saying this is Indiana, but you could go out and you can say, I mentioned a bunch of running backs, a starting guard that you could bring in. There's a couple tackles I think that could be linked with. I've heard some good things about some SEC schools that could be linked to BC. This rebuild, to me, I don't think is as far-fetched as you think. I really don't. So it's going to be, but I want to reserve this. Again, I go back to prove it. Prove it to me. Prove it that you were bringing these guys in. I don't want to just blankly say, oh, they're going to be fine. I don't know yet, but I want to see it. I'm not going to just say that, crap, this is all done. That's not where I'm at. I want to see them and see what they can do. So we'll have to wait and see. Thank you all who have made Locked On Boston College part of your daily routine. Thank you all who follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. If you are not part of the Everydayers Club, please join today. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. If you're listening, there's a bunch of you on YouTube right now. Smash that subscribe button where our numbers are going through the roof. Hit the subscribe button now. You'll be getting updates. I probably will go live again tomorrow. Just what I'm doing. There's so much news. I can't wait till Monday. And so if you want to make sure you get that, hit that bell so you know when I go live. And I'll see you all again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College. Your team every day.